Okay, I want to ask you one question. What one goal would you start right now if you knew you could not fail? When you ask yourself this, you realize one simple truth. When you ask yourself, if I could not fail, what's one thing I would do right now? You realize fear is holding you back. I'm 38 years old. I am a children's book author. I'm trying to get used to just saying author because my newest book that's coming out is a motivation. It's not children's. But I'm 38 years old and I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a father of 3. And I can tell you that in those 36 years of my 38, I was always afraid to ask myself, what could I achieve if I knew I couldn't fail? And then when I got to the point that, I was able to ask that question. And the truth is, I was terrified of what I thought I would do. Well, if I knew I couldn't fail, I'd do this. Well, I can't do that. I'm too afraid. And then I would think, well, if I could write this book, I could become successful. I could go do signings and I can go do presentations. And then I would say, whoa, 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 I can't do that. Fear was holding me back. And I let fear of all kinds of setbacks affect me. And I'll tell you just a few of them. I've had some marriages that didn't work out. I've lost a child. I've lost my younger brother. I've been homeless. I've been bankrupt. I've been foreclosed. A lot of these things I know speak to you in some fashion. Maybe they've happened to you. I sure hope not. But maybe they have. And what I let these setbacks affect that question that I started by asking. When I would ask myself, what could I do if I knew I couldn't fail? I failed right off the bat. Because I let right here go through all of these things that I've been through, and I've let it stop me. I've let it hold me back. So every time you ask yourself this question, I want you to realize fear is holding you back. And fear does not exist. Les Brown, a great speaker, once said, fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. It's like being afraid of a dog that has no teeth. One day when you realize that dog has no teeth, you suddenly realize that fear was nothing. Fear is a liar. So I want you to begin this new year, this 2018, by asking yourself, what could you do if you knew 100% that you could not fail? Because the reality is, you can do all things. As I'm talking right now, sit there and tell yourself this. Tell yourself, I can do all things. Say it. I can do all things. It's an amazing revelation when you truly believe that. I mean, imagine, go into a job interview, and when they ask you, what do? You say, I can do all things. And not with an ego, but with self-belief in yourself. Imagine it. Imagine if, from the time you were born, imagine if your parents and those around you told you, I can do all things. The truth is, we really can do that. That question that I asked you, what you're thinking of right now and maybe getting worried or doubting yourself with. You can do all things. Because your level of confidence is going to decide the level at which you live. The level you have creates a magnetism. Have you ever heard the phrase, like minds think alike? Or birds of a feather flock together? That's what I mean. The confidence that you have in yourself. When you ask yourself, if I could do this without failing, would I do it? That's what you need to be doing. But maybe you're having that doubt. Maybe you do like I used to, and you would ask this question, and you would become afraid, or you'd look at a setback, or you'd say, well, it's just not possible. And then you look around and you notice that everybody else is agreeing with you. Oh yeah, man, I tried to do that, and yeah, you're right, man, it's so tough. I gave up, I quit, I couldn't do it either. You know, we're in the same boat. Or somebody's saying, I'm glad you realized you couldn't do it because it's so tough. I tried it years ago and wouldn't do it. And you start looking around, and maybe other people are broke. Maybe other people are depressed. Maybe other people are lonely. Maybe other people, maybe their compass is just spinning. And you stop and you say, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want that. I know where I want to go. You've got to change the way you're looking at things. Because just like I just said, your confidence is going to dictate where you go in life. If you want to be successful, if you want to be respected, if you want to truly feel like you're aligned in life, and I'm not talking about money. If you are literally having quality memories, quality time, quality interactions with your kids, your spouse, family, co-workers, colleagues, and you're truly feeling you're giving and taking equally, and what you're giving is valued, you're going to attract people who want that same thing over the people who maybe aren't so positive, aren't so driven. So that's why when I ask you, what would you want? That's also kind of like asking, what do you want out of your life? And see, there's factors that hinder our confidence. And one of those is being afraid and questioning ourselves. I got to be honest. When I can remember before my first marriage, and I can remember even going while in my second. I had no confidence, and I'm not gonna lie, I had none, really. And any time I thought of having something, I would always say, Levi Fox, you can't have that. Levi Fox, you don't have a college degree. You know, after my first marriage, I said, Levi Fox, you don't even have a place to live. You're homeless. What makes you think you could have a new car? What makes you think you could have a best-selling book? What makes you think you could be a good father? And I let all of these fears and questions hinder my confidence. And what I realized is that I was attracting that every day from that magnetism that I was talking about. When I started thinking that I really couldn't have it. One time I saw a friend, he went out and he got a new truck. And I saw the truck and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I literally remember driving past his house one day and saying, it's a shame I'll never have that. Boom! Right then, I shot myself in the foot. I might as well have thrown the rope over the tree and just jumped. Because right then I pretty much had died. I literally believed right here I couldn't have it. That's why I didn't ask questions like this. I didn't ask what could I do if I knew I couldn't fail, because I didn't believe I could do anything but fail. But another reason our confidence suffers is we feel like we don't deserve it. Have you ever had something happen to your life that really is positive and really is successful, but because of all the setbacks that you've ever had, all of the negative things that's ever been said, even after you get this momentum, after you get this positive, maybe a promotion or this good compliment or, whatever it is, you say, I just don't deserve it, because you really believe that you're not good enough. You have been pre-programmed, preconditioned to believe that you don't deserve what has been given to you. And that is the biggest lie. You have to realize what you want in life is going to come to you. And when good things come, they're not a lie. They're real. And you do deserve it. So don't tell yourself that you haven't earned it, you don't deserve it. If you're working hard and you're leading with your heart, not your ego, good things are going to come in between the bad, and you do deserve it. But this next reason that I want to give is I've done this myself. I've absolutely done this, and it's we feel guilty about succeeding. I can't tell you how many times from 2003 until 2015, the end of 2015, that I was afraid of success for many reasons, but one of the reasons, I didn't want to leave anybody behind. I didn't want to succeed while I saw other people struggling. And the reality with that was, I thought that I would be hurting people by succeeding, but the truth was, that was self-centered. I was thinking about me. I don't want to make others feel bad. I don't want to succeed while others are failing. And what I didn't do until just a couple years ago, I didn't change my mindset to where I could look at it and say, you know what, if I succeed, when I succeed, I have a chance to help other people. I have a chance to inspire other people. And I've seen that in the last couple of years of my life. As I've changed, I've got a book that scratched Amazon's top 100. I've got a lot of talk right now about my new book that's getting ready to come out. I do presentations at schools all over the country. I go to high schools and junior highs, and I speak to adults about motivation and inspiration. And it's all of these things have come about because I destroyed the belief in my head that I didn't deserve it, and that by becoming successful, I could help others become successful. I could help others believe in themselves. If you believe that you're going to feel guilty about it, you're not helping you, but also you're not helping anybody else. And if you're not out there making somebody else's life better, you're wasting your time. Life is too short not to care. But confidence is a lot of how we see things. Ralph Waldo Emerson once had a quote that said along the lines, I'm kind of paraphrasing, if you look at a man as he is, he'll remain that way. But if you look at a man as what he could be, he'll become what he should be. And that's, when I say man, we mean man as a species, man as a creature on this earth. If you ever get into times you always say, why does this stuff always happen to me? It's because it does. And every day when you wake up and you say, gosh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen to me today? You're already dealing the cards that you know you're going to have. You're waking up ready for it. But I want to talk some real quick about a gentleman named Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was captured, Jew, back in World War II by Germany. and he was thrown into the Auschwitz death camp. Now, Auschwitz was is one of the most known camps of all of Nazi Germany. Most people that went to Auschwitz did not survive. Viktor Frankl was arrested, him and his family, and they were thrown into Auschwitz. He had to physically watch family and friends die. But Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz after the war, and he used that to have this incredible positive outlook for the real human spirit that's within us all. And he said, as long as people believe in something, they will stay alive. And he didn't just make this quote up either. He lived it. Every day in Auschwitz, he found a reason to live. And this guy wasn't just struggling to pay his bills. This guy wasn't worried about his car payment. This guy, Viktor Frankl, was worried about staying alive. So he had a choice. I can either feel like I'm guilty, I can feel like I don't deserve it, or I can say, what can I get from this? And he found a way to be positive, and he spent his entire life after that impacting other people. Because you see, imagine right now that you are completely unstoppable. And I want you to envision being unstoppable. I want you to envision the emotion, the physical, the mental state that you would be in. Imagine if I was completely unstoppable. I'd ask that man out. I'd ask that woman out. I'd go back to school. I'd start that business. I'd write that book. I'd take off for Texas and learn how to become a cattle farmer or an oil hand worker. Or I'd take off for LA and jump into becoming an actor or an actress. I'd always wanted to learn a second language. Whatever it is that you want, envision that. Because when you start envisioning it, what you will do, your mind is programmed. When it gets a new vision asked into it, your mind starts thinking right away of ways it could do this to make it happen. That's why I believe in vision boarding. Vision boarding is so intricate because every day when you get up, I get up and I go in my kitchen, and on one whole wall of my kitchen, I have cars that I want. I have the home that I want. I have the lines of people and a photograph of people lined up for a book signing at a local bookstore. I see myself having this. I see of London, Sydney, Vancouver, these places I want to see. And these things that I do, every day I'm putting it in my head. And when you start to envision what you really want, and you do this over time, your mind is literally, I'm not joking, it's literally going to start producing ways to achieve it. The more you think of what you want, remember the question, what could you do if you knew you couldn't fail? If you start thinking of that over and over and over, your mind is eventually going to say, hey, this is coming into my life, my world, every day. It's got to be important. We got to start storing this information. Clearly, your mind is going to say, clearly you want this. I've got to try to figure out how to make it happen. Now, that doesn't mean that your mind's going to do the work for you. You got to use your hands, your feet, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your creativity, your grit, your determination, your grind. You've got to use all these things to make it happen. But going back to just envisioning it, that's the first step you've got to take. You can't be afraid to envision it. But how you take this and make it a reality is habits. I can tell you at one point in my life, during my second marriage, Be open up. I'm not afraid to be open here. During my second marriage, I got up literally 10 minutes before I had to be to work. Now I only worked about a dozen blocks away from my home, so getting there in 10 minutes wasn't a problem. I could get there in 5. But I literally dreaded getting up so bad and going to a job that I didn't feel any success with. I would go through the day. I avoided everything I could. I would come home. I was always concerned what kind of mood my spouse was going to be in. And I literally, I would go sit in my chair and I would stay there watching television until it was about midnight and I would go to bed. I'd get up and I'd start it all over. That was my habit. You want to know what my habit is now? I'm up at 5:30 every morning. I changed jobs. I have a job in the evening now that allows me to go wherever I want and do presentations for children as an author, and I can go anywhere and speak as a speaker. I couldn't do that with the other job. I went from being 245 pounds to 190 because I started working out. I started getting in shape. I go to a job now to help supplement my income that I'm in control of what I do. I have something that I have to do, but as long as I get it done, I'm in great shape. I've earned the respect of my coworkers that also work in the facility. I'm blessed to work pretty much by myself, but I had to change my habit. And the truth is, we're not born with habits. They're learned upon us, and they're conditioned to us. I mean, think about it. When you're born, you're born with only 2 fears. You're born with the fear of falling, and you're born with the fear of a loud sound. I mean, you look at any infant, any toddler, they're fearless, except when they're about to fall and when they hear a loud bang. You ever dropped a glass and it breaks and you see a child just kind of, because that's the only 2 fears that they're innately born with. And imagine that. You're born into this life fearless, with the exception of 2 things. And the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises is simply instinctive because it's meant to keep you alive. You're meant to survive. Your brain has those 2 primary core functions to make sure you live until nature's way of claiming you back comes to fruition, or until you die. But you die naturally. Your brain's instinct is to keep you alive. That's why when you have these habits, you get stuck in them. You become comfortable, what we like to call the comfort zone. And the comfort zone is a killer. But your brain your mindset wants to keep you there because it's safe. It can keep you alive. That's why you look at anybody who's been successful. They'll tell you it's a simple decision to change, but it's a hard decision to keep up with, to stay dedicated, to have resolve with. But did you know that, I think it's somewhere around 95% of our habits, 95% of our habits can be unlearned. And improvement literally is the result, of just changing our habits. It's the result of making it happen when it doesn't seem like it's possible. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me to suddenly start getting up at 5:30 in the morning. But when I was getting out of my second marriage, I had a mind shift change. And I was excited and ready to make things happen. So, why are some people more successful than others? Why are some people so easy to change their habits? The truth is, it's not easy for them. Some people want to look at Steve Jobs and say, well, he was just born with a gift. No. Steve Jobs was adopted. He created this amazing company, Apple, and then he was publicly fired from it. And at one point he thought of leaving Silicon Valley and getting out. But what made Steve Jobs so successful is his habit. He made a habit of every day getting up and say, what I'm about to do today, am I happy with? And when it was no for too many days in a row, he would change it. That's how he went on to create Next. That's how he went on to create Pixar, the animation studio that created the first animated story, Toy Story. Oh my gosh, you could look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, you could look at Oprah Winfrey, you could look at Les Brown, you could look at all these amazing people who will tell you, I guarantee, they will all tell you the same thing, that changing your habits is what's going to make you successful. And the reason you want to change your habits is because there's a law out there called the law of cause and effect. And for every effect in your life, there's a cause. It's like if your car breaks down. Why did your car break down? Well, because this part quit. There's always a cause. You woke up late. Why did you wake up late? Because you didn't set the alarm clock, or you didn't put new batteries in your alarm clock. Maybe you got a disciplinary action at work. Well, why did you get the disciplinary action? Because you're always late all the time. So the law of cause and effect is basically if you study someone who's doing what you want to do in life. And for me, I did that with a good friend of mine, Dr. Coit Cooper. I was at the point where I wanted to change, so I started looking at this person I'd met. If you study someone like I did, and you look at what they're doing, look at how they're taking their life daily, and they're moving towards what you want. If you look at them and study them and go about it the same way, and you change your habits to go in line in a similar route, I guarantee you're going to blow up. You're going to have similar results. If you could look at, say, Oprah Winfrey. If you could look at Oprah Winfrey and you could develop in your mind the mindset that she has from the moment she wakes up to the moment she goes to bed, I guarantee you, if you start out a year poor, you will not be poor by the end of the year. And I'm not just talking money either. I'm talking input. I'm talking the legacy. I'm talking personal alignment also. But you have to be willing to do it. You have to be able to change your habits. Because the law of cause and effect is basically, if you wake up every day and everything's bad, the bills aren't getting paid and you're overweight, what are the causes? Don't be afraid to pull yourself in the mirror and say, I want to know why you're not getting this done. Look at yourself. I had to do this before. I looked at myself in the mirror one morning. It's absolutely energizing. I looked at the mirror and I said, Levi, what's the problem, man? Do you really think you can't do it? And I literally was talking to myself and I'm like, I know I can do it, but... And I'd say, but what? Are you trying to climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets? Don't you know that doesn't work? Yeah, but, my parents were divorced when I was young, and I've been through 2 bad marriages, and, I'm still struggling with the loss of my daughter. I'll never get to see her grow up, and, and then I'll say, dude, you can't change all of these things, except how you want to look at them. I look at it now, my parents getting divorced when I was young made me stronger. Both of my marriages ending made me stronger. Losing my daughter about 12 years ago and never getting to see her grow up and do all these things with my child made me grateful for life. I'm going to see my daughter again. In my faith and my belief, I will see her again. But while I'm here, I got to deal with right here. So I can make all of my kids proud of me. I can leave a legacy for all of my children. So with the law of cause and effect, causes are linked, literally, causes are linked to thoughts and beliefs. If you wake up every morning believing that it's going to be a bad day, are you really so surprised when it's a bad day? Really? I mean, are you out there doing it, or are you out there just going through the motions? Because the effects are the results of our causes. Every single effect in our life is the result of our causes. So it could be the worst day in the world, but if you're determined you're going to have a positive day come hell or high water. Your kids are spilling milk, car's breaking down. Maybe you go to work and your boss is having a bad day and it's making it difficult on everybody. But you still keep up here no matter what. I have a set of character traits that I'm going to value. I'm going to make things happen. And none of this other stuff has to affect me at any point. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. The law of cause and effect is difficult. But when we make the choice to have good causes, we're going to have good effects. You know, it's like Tony Robbins once said, if you ask yourself a dumb question, what are you going to get? You're going to get a dumb answer. If you do a negative thing, you're going to have a negative effect because your cause is negative. But our thoughts are controlled by us. We control our thoughts, but our thoughts control everything about us. Your beliefs, your causes, which are your beliefs, they're controlled by your thoughts. You know, how happy are we? Are we happy with where we work? Are we happy with who we've married? Are we happy with how we dress? Are we happy with what we drive? Are we happy with the goals that we set? All of these things come into play when thinking about who we are. And it's the knowing who we are. I mean, if you're waking up every day and you're in a bad relationship, you're not valued, you don't feel great about yourself, you don't feel a part of something. I'm a firm believer in working hard to try to make it work. But if it's not working, if the other person and you are literally not on the same page, it is not going to work. But only after you've exhausted every effort by being you to make something happen, you have to ask yourself, is the effect that I'm getting what I want? Is my cause for these effects, are they where I'm going? Are these thoughts that I'm having, are they where I want to go and who I want to be? It's when you start changing your thoughts, you can really change yourself. Wayne Dyer once said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. And I cannot express that enough. That is an amazing, amazing way to look at things. You're in control of what you carry in your mind. So as I wrap up, I want to ask you again, but in kind of a different way. Now that you know you are unstoppable, not what could you do, what will you do, knowing that you really can't fail. You can succeed or you can learn. That is one thing One thing that former South Africa President Nelson Mandela said once. Nelson Mandela said, "I succeed, but I never fail. Instead of failing, I learn." So now that you can understand that you really can succeed, think about it. You can succeed when you succeed, but you can also succeed when you fail. They don't tell you that in the world. I challenge you, start of new year 2018, go out there and really step out of that ant line. Don't be marching with all the other ants to the anthill to do your daily thing. What will you do now that you know you cannot fail? Go out there, do that, and just make this life, this year, this everything better. My hope for you is a blessed 2018. I've got more content that I'm going to come out with. I've got a ton of notes here, and I just want to start sharing this with you. Make this year the best year ever. I guarantee you. You're going to look back 12 months from now, and you're not going to have that smile wiped off your face for anything. Go out there and get it, guys. Start today. See ya.